It's Tim Albright with AVNation, with an AVNation special celebrating International Women's Day. And with me today is Tammy Fuqua from Control Concepts. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. So let's kind of get started. You work for Control Concepts. Our buddy Steve Greenblatt, who's the host of our State of Control program. When you look at your journey, and you mentioned CD duplication, so it has been a minute or two, and kind of into the integration and finally independent programming. What have been some of the more rewarding parts of that journey for you personally and kind of professionally?
Sure. I would say from the beginning, finding and seeking out female role models. When at this time I was pretty young, and I would say that there was a lot of male executives, but not a lot of female role models at the beginning. And through the journey that I've been through, there's been some amazing mentoring by other female role models that have given me the confidence to continue my role in AV.
Well, let's talk about that, and that's kind of our next part of this journey is talking about some of the challenges that you faced. You are a woman in a predominantly male-dominated industry. So, what are some of those challenges, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so at the beginning, there was a lot of conference room meetings where it was all male executives and maybe a handful of sales admins that were females. And I would say the way that I got through that is that I really just sought out other females to talk about some of the issues that I was seeing, like maybe some of the more not so appropriate talk. Perhaps it was the not being taken seriously in the roles. And I had to really stand up for myself. And that was one thing I wasn't really confident with at the beginning of my AV career. But as time evolved, I was able to find my voice and be able to say, these are the things that I want from my career, and sought them out and sought out employers that encouraged that.
When you look at kind of the predominant, you mentioned the not taking seriously. Certainly there are the aspects of some of these conversations we've had that are very unfortunate, right? These are inappropriate comments. Sometimes it goes even beyond that. Beyond those kind of overtly abhorrent behaviors and actions. I want to go back to the second, though, because you said this, and several women have said this to me, where it is the not taking seriously part. Talk for a second about what that is to you and what that does as you're trying to overcome that specific hurdle.
Sure. So there was a lot of times I would be sitting in a conference room and the talk would go on, and they would realize there was a woman in the room, and it would be like, oh, sorry. At the beginning, I felt myself almost apologetic about it, like, oh, it's okay, because I didn't want to ruffle feathers.
Yeah.
And then it came to the point where if it did happen, it would be more of me pushing back, saying, you're right, that wasn't appropriate, or maybe at least acknowledging that I wasn't okay with it. I think that was the most important part, was that the recognizing that I was able to say it's not okay. I think that's where the turning point was.
That has to be a huge, and I hesitate to use the word empowering, but that's the only one I have right now on the top of my head. That has to be a huge empowering moment for you in your career. How do you translate that to other women as they're coming up and as you're mentoring them, that this is okay, and yes, in fact, it's going to help you in your career?
I think, it's a scary position to be in, because, in the back of your mind, you're like, well, I don't want to change my dynamic in my role, but yet I want to make sure that it's acknowledged that it's not okay. And so I would say, if I'm trying to translate that into me being a mentor for someone coming up in the industry, is to make sure that they know that, while it's scary, it's needed. Otherwise, the industry will not change.
Yeah. Tammy, as we kind of wrap up here, take a look for me, and this is kind of where we do kind of a fantasy thing or futurizing for ourselves. Look forward to where you're going to retire, and you're nowhere near that, so we're not talking about tomorrow. But look back on your career. What do you want to see have changed in the industry when you do retire?
So as I've been moving up in my career, there have been moments where I have seen glimpses of more female empowerment throughout the industry, particularly at a couple of the manufacturers that I worked for. It felt more equal. It felt like we all had the same ground, same level. And that's what I would like to see as I get closer to retirement, that there is not that division of like, well, the males and the females in this industry. It's all we all have value. We all have things to contribute. So for me, it's important that I see that that women are getting into more executive roles. That's another thing that I see slightly changing, but it's still a long ways from where it needs to be. I would like to be able to walk into a conference room and see as many female executives as I do male executives. So that's what I would like to see closer to the end of my tenure with the AV industry.
There's a line that I'm reminded of from Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Justice Ginsburg, said a number of years ago. This is obviously well before she passed away, and somebody asked her, "When will you be satisfied with the number of women that are on the Supreme Court?" And she said, "When they're all women." And I think about that, and it's like, you know what? Yeah, that there are. When you look at the dynamic, and I'm talking about equality here or equity here. It's there are technically there's 50% women in the U.S. Let's say so there should be 50% women on boards or 50% women on CEOs. No, you know what? Knock yourself out. Do whatever it is that you guys need to do, and replace the old white guys on the board and in the boardroom. So yeah, that's awesome.
I love quotes too, and one of my favorite quotes is, "The world does not need what women have; it needs what women are." So there's so much opportunity for women out there, and one of my things that I get most afraid of is when I hear a woman leaving the industry because of these issues, because it's something that's able to be changed. If we could just learn how to change it, then the world would be a better place. At least in my naive mind.
You actually really bring up a really good point, and how do we prevent that? And I'm not talking about keeping women from leaving the industry. I am a little bit, yeah. How do we get them before they get to that point, though? I guess is what I'm asking. Is it the Women's Invicta Council? Is it some of the closer things? Is it developing more closer mentorship programs? How do we get women to share their frustration before they get to the point of, I'm done with this industry, screw you guys, I'm going someplace else?
I think you brought up a couple key things. Is getting involved in a women's organization, whether it be the Invicta Women's Council, Women in AV, some organization that allows you to see that there are confident women ready to help mentor you through whatever obstacles you're facing at your job, your workplace, in the industry, wherever it may be.
All right, very good. Tammy, thank you so much. How do people connect with you or Control Concepts?
So you can find me on LinkedIn or on Twitter, which is at Tammy Fuqua, TAMMY FUQA 3. And Control Concepts is also both on LinkedIn, Twitter, and on Facebook.
All right, very good. Tammy Fuqua from Control Concepts, thank you so much. For us, for AVNation, go by our website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. Find this program and a host of others, including our 2 weeklies. AV Week looks at the commercial side of the AV industry, and Resi Week looks at the residential side. And also check out Tammy's cohort there at Control Concepts, Steve Greenblatt. His program is called State of Control, looks at control and automation. All that and more at avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv.